All right, should we get? Call the order of the Board of Library Trustees for Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. Roll call, please.
Here. Trustee Meadow is absent. Trustee Rule is absent. Trustee Smart.
Here.
Trustee Samari.
Here.
Trustee Sucklet.
Here.
President.
Here. Thank you. Any public comments? Okay. So move on to liaison report. Friends. Timing.
So, yeah, we just had our last, if they garage, so they all want to be good on market sale. $4,600 we cleared, so it was a good sale again, even though it was just limited to kids books. We're having our last one on August the 14th. And then we're going to get back to the big sales, hopefully in November, get that date scheduled, plus 3 dates for next year, all set to go. And then we also, right now, we're have a current wish list item, acre space for a bicycle station and some other equipment. So that's going out to the board tonight for a vote.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to foundation.
Okay, Lori's not able to join us tonight, but she did give me an update. At their July 14th board meeting, the board approved the art room sink not to exceed $3,000. The scholarship task force will be starting in September, and they already have a family interested in assisting with a named scholarship in memory of their son. And as we are looking for a SD 214 member of our task force, a tour of the makerspace with high school District 214's Assistant Superintendent of Education and Learning, Dr. Laz Lopez, and the principals of Hersey, Rolling Meadows, and Prospect, as well as Bill Dustling, president of School District 214 School Board, has been set for early August. I assume early August. And then their plans for the open house continue to be flexible. That's our next meeting. I have from the foundation.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to action item 1, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of, was it June 15th, 2021. We have a motion for approval.
I move approval of the minutes from June 15, 2021.
You have a second.
I second.
Okay, any comments, thoughts on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That one passes. Let's move on to action item 2, approval of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of July 12th, 2021. Motion for approval on that.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Any questions, comments, changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We move that one. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 3 then. Review of the financial report for the period ended June 30th, 2021.
Would you mind joining us for our financial report? I'm sorry.
Throw spot open and do whatever. Revenue first. The library was rewarded a receivable in the amount of $110,773.98 for the 2021 Illinois Public Library per capita grant. Previously, yeah, what's that?
Wasn't it like 80 before?
It's usually about 93,000, and the population has remained the same over the previous year, but our per capita went up $1.47 each. About 47 cents. Copier printer revenue totaled $2,702.98. Collection fees for late items, $110. Lost item, so the replacement charges totaled $998.52. June interest, $246 in our operating budget. And then in the 491 capital budget account, $184.88. Our donations for June were $799.55. Friends of the Library reimbursed expenses totaling $4,932.12. And revenue for vehicle stickers was $317. So that was a sale of 27 stickers. on the service. And it keeps going up each month. And then our total revenue collected in June, $131,571.09. That's on the revenue side.
Okay.
Expenses, 50% of the fiscal year is lapsed. We've expensed 43% of our total operating budget. So the favorable variance there is $1,124,151. Construction is underway at the makerspace. And so far, the total expense to date is $683,024. That's for 2021. And somebody had asked if we could give a little more detail about the makerspace and maker place budget. So I just wanted to start and say that. Yeah, I don't know where it came from. Mike asked me to do it. So in 2019, we started the project, and in that year, we expensed $13,800. In 2020, some of the construction began, and we purchased some computer equipment. There were fees paid to our architect and project management. So in 2020, we spent $187,682. And in 2021, to date, which you'll see on the dashboard, we spent $683,024.48. So far, we've spent $884,543. So our remaining budget is $358,211. And that will cover all of the additional expenses that we have there. Now, some of that covers contractors who've already done work that haven't charged us yet. For example, the driver, who haven't been charged yet. They're waiting until the end of the project to bill it to us. So we are on track with that. Any questions about that?
And after what's budgeted out over what we spent, extra left over was about $8,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
We're down like $8,000 of breathing room.
Contingency.
That's.
Yeah, we had a number of change orders and, adds to the project and stuff like that, but we've been able to offset a lot of that stuff with trimming other budgets, like our furniture budget, and just getting as creative as we could with what we have to work with. So we've been able to absorb a lot of those additional costs.
For funds, the foundation, and everything, they've been able to do to keep us at that level.
So did we get the sink the way that Andy wanted it because of friends donating?
No, the foundation has approved the wish list item for a sink.
So that's what we were just talking about. So it's,
The foundation issue.
right, the foundation, I'm sorry. So we got that was something that was on our wish list. That was a kind of a, top of.
Yeah, so the foundation approved that, and along with that, the foundation's estimated donation total, including construction and donations and in-kind donations, is approximately $200,000. And then the Friends, about $65,000. Yeah, in addition to that, we have the Live and Learn grant, which is $50,000, and a capital project grant from the state for $100,000. So, kind of fun to look at. Overall, the library is funding 71% of the project, the foundation 14%, grants 10%, and the Friends 5%.
Any other questions on that? Or?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you done with the review of the financial report?
For that,
You're done with item 3? Okay. All right, so let's move on to action item 4, review of the check register for the period ended June 30th, 2021.
Bear with me, this is gonna be a long list, but I had a few of them earmarked. So let's start on page 1 of the check register.
Go. Don't wait for me.
Check number 81998, ILA conference, $60, and that's payment for 4 trustees to attend ILA. Trustee Zick, Gala, Snyder, Sutcliffe. On page 2 of the check register, check 82073 for all promotions. The total is $6,263.62. These are going to be giveaways for the Maker Place. There's wooden phone stands with our printed logo and colored changing wooden pencils.
Yes.
Groovy.
If we skip to page 8, wanted to point out, check 81958 and 82020. Bruce Bennett and Julie Madej, these two payments are for resume reviews. So this is a total of 6 customer resume reviews, $30 each. Okay, on page 20, Mark Hyatt. Check 82021 for $127.80. Every month, our cataloger will send out a list of records to this cataloging company who will check our records against the big database of records. So this actually covers 2,000 records, $127. On page 21, check 81991 for Hargrave Builders, $32,997. They're our general contractor. There's a spelling error in there.
Or a general contractor.
Yes, it's really close to the G. And they're our general builder for the Maker Place. Also on page 21, check 82026, Metal Master Roof Master, $799.31. This was a payment to our roofing contractor for a change order, and they moved the RTU blocking.
Yeah, basically, they figured it out. Yeah.
I know that means anyone wants to know. You probably know what it means.
Let's hear what it means.
So the RT, I got this. The RTU is a piece of equipment that heats, cools, and ventilates roofing.
Very good.
Page 22, check 82040. Peak Supply Company. We needed safety rails for the roof, $2,972.20. All right, and then there were some extra questions. I'm just gonna go over. I actually don't know the page number of each of these, but I can tell you what they are. So the first question here was for all promotions, and we talked about that. Second was North Shore Lights. These are holiday lights, so we purchased these early, and then Friends of the Library reimburses us. Thank you very much. And that is ready for the holidays. There's another question about Amazon Mac Mini for iPad, $1,199.98. These are actually purchased. There were 2 iPads, one for our senior center, and then our IT department uses one of them to update all of our Apple software. Like base fee widgets.
Oh, that is for the website. There's widgets on there that I believe that's for the reviews, professional reviews and stuff like that, that feed into our website, into our catalog.
There's a question about McNulty Lane for July, $490. This is the very popular Art with Elaine program. And then there's 10-gauge learning. This is electronic databases. And tutor.com learning suite, $2,870. So this is live homework. They actually have live tutors that can help with ACT, SATs, resume reviews. So our business librarian would use that often. We've got Biblioteca on here, and that's our cloud library. Actually $26,360.46.
Is that for Spanish?
No, that's just regular. And then the other 3 questions I may have answered already. Hargrave Builders, $32,997. K&J Painting, $18,284.40. That is actually just for the supplies, not for the services rendered. That'll be a separate billing. And then carpet land, same thing. This is for the supplies, 21,363. Oh, and then
Supplies for the makerspace, correct?
paint supplies. yeah.
Makerspace.
Maker. And then we have a question about the Amex bill. New POS system, Square Hardware for $2,017. So we have ordered and received already. Now we're writing training instructions, but we'll have new POS systems downstairs, new readers, and it's a little iPad screen, one for the maker place, one for downstairs at the circ desk, and then digital and book.
POS is not purchase order?
POS,
Yeah.
point of sale.
Oh, point of sale. Oh, okay. I thought it was so smart. I really did. I thought, oh, it's for purchase orders. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna ask anyway. A point of sale. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? No? Okay, can we have a motion for approval, please?
I move that we approve the check register for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library, June 30, 2021, in the amount of $1,124,795.74.
Second? Roll call, please.
Trustee Bauer? Yes. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Samari? Yes. Trustee Parker?
Aye.
President Zip?
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Let's move on to the executive director's report.
Okay. All right, take a look at your director's report. I'll go through and highlight a few things from it. On page 1, phase 5 changes. So on Friday, June 11th, the state of Illinois moved into phase 5 of the Restore Illinois mitigation plan. In response, the library removed capacity limits and many other mitigation restrictions that we had in place. All of our tables, chairs, and furniture were placed back in their original pre-COVID configurations, and the cafe and water fountains were reopened. Public computers have been moved back to the computer area. Some computers do remain out of service to allow for optional social distancing still. Computer sessions were expanded to 2-hour reservations with the extension of 1 hour in 1 hour increments. In building programming resumed June 10th. Okay, also on that first page, our adult summer reading begins. Info Services librarians Allison Lowry and Lev Collins worked with Info Services advisor Sherry Tater to plan and launch Page Turners, the adult summer reading program for 2021. The program is available the months of June, July, and August. Each month, participants complete a handful of activities by reading and connecting with other readers in the community to earn a badge for a chance to win a gift card to a local restaurant. 248 people have registered for the program, and 86 have earned the June badge by completing at least 5 activities. On page 2, the Summer Reading Challenge kicked off for youth on June 7th. That's for customers from birth through grade 12. In the month of June alone, 1,384 kids, tweens, and teens registered to participate in the challenge and read all summer long while earning prizes along the way. This surpasses 2020's total participation numbers by 411 participants. The program also requires our young readers to complete activities and includes building a fort, reading to a pet, and sending snail mail to friends. Yes, I read that.
Yes.
Okay, on page 3, to celebrate Pride Month, Youth Services staff highlighted resources for youth audiences through book lists and displays in Kids World and the Hub, as well as rainbow-themed story time promoting diversity and acceptance. In partnership with the Arlington Heights Park District, the library installed a story walk featuring the book Our Rainbow. In the Hub, staff provided instructions and supplies for DIY rainbow book bands. 68 teen customers visited and crafted them throughout the month.
We're on the playground, right?
Yeah. On the next page, just to highlight some of our DEI resources, our Info Services advisors worked with communications marketing to promote reading lists for Juneteenth and Pride Month. So I have some screenshots there of our book and movie recommendations for Juneteenth and reading resources and reading lists for Pride. Let's see, then on the next page, our programs and exhibits staff, Natalie Brotman, Neil Parker, and Jennifer Chaika, supported the Village of Arlington Heights and the library in celebrating Pride Month by hosting 2 pop-ups in June. The first was on June 12th at the Farmers Market alongside the Bookmobile. The second pop-up occurred June 30th at the library, featuring a large display of books and movies for all ages with additional focus on resources from local organizations that support LGBTQ+ youth. On the next page are highlighting the Lutheran Home Partnership. After more than 1 year of being unable to visit in person, Senior and Accessible Services staff resumed in-person library visits on Monday, June 21st. Our SAS staff, Katie Myers and Janet McDonald, hosted a virtual library day visit on Zoom that was streamed via CCTV to resident rooms throughout the Lutheran home. Katie and Janet shared information about how to sign up for library services, the monthly on-site library visits directly to residents' rooms, information about the Illinois State Library Talking Book Service, and talked about some of the books highlighted on the SAS summer reading list. And I'm sorry, I don't have page numbers on here, but 2 pages past that. 33 1/3 series kicks off with Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace on June 23rd marked the debut of a new year-long series presented in partnership with Addison Public Library, Glenview Public Library, and Northbrook Public Library. The series brings together music fans throughout the celebration of the 33 1/3 book collection, a series of pocket-sized books about beloved albums published by Bloomsbury. Programs and Exhibits Manager Jennifer Chaika and Programs and Exhibits Specialist Neil Parker managed all technical logistical requirements for the evening. Aaron Cohen, a music writer, professor at City Colleges of Chicago and author of Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace, discussed the significance of the seminal record with moderator Michael White from the Glenview Public Library. Aaron shared the process of making the record, played never before heard interviews with Aretha Franklin's band members, and fielded several rounds of questions. 93 customers attended, many engaged in chat and questions and comments. The program was recorded and has been viewed more than 100 times on YouTube. Okay, on the next page, Needle Felt and Narwhal. Natisha Lever Lewis of Esther's Place taught 27 participants how to needle felt an adorable narwhal on Zoom. Programs and Exhibits Specialists Emily Brzezinski and Natalie Brotman organized supply kits for registered customers to pick up before the program. With materials in hand, participants enjoyed learning a new craft. The library will be hosting another session of the same class in August.
And that page, yoga in the park. How do we, in something like that, how do we actually participate?
Shannon, do you want to speak to that one, or Jennifer? I don't know, maybe one of you guys could.
Yeah, this is actually a great one to talk about here, right? Because it was a good success that started 4 years ago. So we've had a lot of interest in fitness learning and step on toes with the district. So it did take a while in relationship building to really work with Steve Neal, who's one of the facilities managers there, to talk about what the benefits would be of bringing people a chance to do yoga for free and without this barrier that does exist with our district classes. So we like using the historical museum grounds. That's 7 minutes to the park. It shows you the location. It's nice to do outdoors, and that keeps us in a nice feasible scope where we're not stepping on the toes of year-round programs. We've offered it in the past too with private studios, but I prefer that we keep doing it with.
So we're actually running the yoga.
One of the teachers through the program. So Lynn, who is our teacher, she's a certified yoga instructor with things that, her insurance is carried with them. She's taking care of them. We don't have to worry about all of those additional things that we might worry.
So it's our program, we're planning it for the yoga person.
And it's done before. It's
It's very
fun.
popular.
It's a really nice way to, when it's a nice day, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
And I just think in person now is just that this is one of those neat things that we do with one of the other entities. Just kind of how do we put it all together? It's just great to kind of get all the information. What are we doing? That's it. It's a fantastic thing. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Lynn then has the opportunity to tell people if they are interested in what her classes are, what other classes are. We don't explicitly promote their schedule and say, sign up for a class, but certainly that opportunity is there for people who attend and want to learn.
Great, thank you.
Okay, on the next page, wanted to highlight the Creative Aging Art with Elaine series. This is a very popular series. Art with Elaine students enjoy their class and meetups at each month, but this month's portrait project came with an additional sense of accomplishment. Students shared how proud they felt of their work and how much the class means to them with SAS staff and in evaluation comments. Most never tried art before, and some only joined the group in the past several months. I highlighted this one because I just wanted to show the progress that these students have made. Specifically, the one at the bottom, one student brought her portrait into the library to show her work and express how much she'd learned from the classes. She began attending in August of 2020 and had no prior art experience. And clearly, that is a.
I thought that was Elaine. That's amazing.
That's a student, yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
Mhm.
okay, then on the next page, Versity returned to the Hendrickson Room June 30th for another successful blood drive. The Arlington Heights community, including staff donors, surpassed Versity's goal of 30 with 31 whole blood donations and 3 people donating double red cell for 6 units, with a total of 37 units donated. Arlington Heights potentially helped 111 patients. The next drive will be Thursday, December 2nd. A special thank you to our volunteer coordinator, Jennifer Brigich, and the Arlington Heights Memorial Library volunteers for showing up and assisting Versity staff by taking temperatures and checking in people upon arrival. Then on the next page, Pee Wee artists. Youth services staff were thrilled to welcome back the library's littlest, cutest customers for the first in-person program in the Hendrickson Room. On Thursday, June 10th, Youth Services Assistant Maria Papanasasiu and Early Literacy Supervisor Rebecca King welcomed a total of 58 customers to Pee Wee artists over the course of 3 sessions. Customers completed 3 different art projects exploring colors and showcasing their creativity. One caregiver burst into tears of joy when seeing Miss Rebecca for the first time since the pandemic began. That wasn't adorable. Point that out. Okay, next page, Summer Volunteer Squad. This summer, the library was pleased to bring back summer volunteer squads after it was put on hold in 2020. 96 Arlington Heights teens in grades 7 through 12 are volunteering weekly this summer to give back to the community. Each of the 8 unique squads is led by a youth services staff member, and some are co-led by staff from digital services and community and circulation services. Witness the dedicated SVS teen volunteers in action at some of the library's upcoming programs, including Storytime in the Park, Book Buddies, and Choose Your Own Adventure Writing Club. Okay, skip one page and then moving on to the staffing news and professional development. Our info services manager, Jolie Duncan, was asked to serve on the ILA conference program committee. This is a 2-year appointment with a focus on planning the 2022 ILA conference. In preparation for Makerspace Kitchen Management, our culinary advisor, Brian Battaggio, recertified his ServSafe manager credentials through an 8-hour course and scored 97% on the proctored test. This certification will ensure that the library meets all of the high sanitation standards necessary to offer a shared kitchen and classroom environment. Our SAS supervisor and ADA coordinator, Katie Myers, coordinated a free staff training opportunity from our local community partner that serves the autism community, Have Dreams. In return for providing feedback from library staff for their new virtual training module, the library received training that included a comprehensive overview of autism characteristics and culture, quick tips to help set up library spaces for success for people with autism spectrum disorder, and demonstration videos on how to adapt books and games at different levels for someone with autism. And then last in here is in November of 2020, myself and Shannon Distel joined the Arlington Heights Rotary Club in a shared membership representing the library. In June, I was installed as a member of the Rotary Board and chair of the Community Services Committee, and Shannon is also taking a leadership role and will be heading up hemming it up for me.
Wow.
I really want to know it. Really.
Okay, then looking at the dashboard, just looking at the numbers, you're seeing a lot of arrows going in the correct direction. Keep in mind this is compared to June of last year, so those numbers you're going to see a significant increase as we've seen over the last couple of months in change from last year to this year. Be happy to address any questions on any of those numbers.
More questions?
Okay, then I'm going to move on to our focus report. For this month, our programs and exhibits manager, Jennifer Chaika, will present on evaluation and evolution of programming. So I'd ask Jennifer to join us at the table, and she's going to go through the memo that was provided, or the report that was provided to all of you prior to the meeting.
Thank you for your time.
For yours.
I also wanted to introduce Megan Young, who's here. So Megan is the programs and exhibits supervisor. ABC called out in many of the board report items over the months, and is really intimately familiar with all this stuff too. So if there are questions, we're both here to help you answer them. First, it's great timing to be able to present this information to you because we were at such a point of analyzing these things for ourselves. You know, we kind of just had our first full year of virtual programming under our belt, where of course our reporting annually is on the January to December calendar year, and that coincides with how we present information to IPLAR. That's not really what our year to year looks like right now. You know, we wanted to do things like look at April 2020 to March 2021, and then we wanted to go back and we wanted to look at April 2019 to March 2020. So we're kind of looking at numbers in entirely different ways ourselves, kind of trying to do some analysis of where we're at. And one thing that I really wanted to make sure everybody at the table had a chance to understand, because each month, of course, you see total program number and you see total program attendance, but that's a very big bucket of programs. So hopefully in this report, this gives you a little bit more intimate knowledge of what the adult programming portion of that is. Shannon is also incredibly familiar with the IPLAR, working with this monthly with us. So some things that are just basic categories in IPLAR are adult programs, children's programs, and young adult programs. So those are the three categories that IPLAR are interested in seeing detailed about each year. We're looking only at the adult portion right here. And to give you an idea of who is contributing to adult programs, I kind of wanted to call out some of those departments that contribute to that monthly. Often we see them mixed up in the narratives, but there are a lot of people across a lot of departments, over 25, who work toward programming for adults. That includes advisors who are preparing book discussions, that includes tech learning staff for preparing classes, that includes specialty information services, or I'm sorry, specialty and accessibility services staff who are reaching seniors and older adults. And everybody had kind of different ways that we needed to respond to our audiences as soon as everything changed in March of last year. So what I really found interesting within the bubble of adult, and I hoped you would too, is that when we look at just those adult numbers, I am looking at the annual here when I have these pie charts for you. So in 2019, adult programs reported to IPLAR, and these are only the things that are defined as group programs. So a group program by definition for the Illinois Library reporting is that it is synchronous, people are together in a group and they are learning together to be instructed by staff. There is also a category for passive programming. I'm not including the passive programming. Passive programming is all additional reach. And those are the things that you see highlighted throughout where we had additional reach through take and make craft kits. So for kids, for adults, our video views. If you see me call out an item in the board report monthly that says 100 people attended live, an additional 80 viewed the video, that is going into two different program statistic categories. But we're not trying to, inflate our numbers. We're trying to be very honest about who engaged in what ways, and if they were engaging a live program or if they were engaging asynchronously in different ways that may be less interactive. Other things that get reported with the passive programming every year are percent reading program numbers. So that would be true of the kids program numbers that you just saw in the report that Mike gave, or those adult program numbers, the 248 who registered in the first month of June. So just some distinctions. Anytime you see numbers, there's even more numbers than that. And there's even finer detail into the numbers that you're seeing. But these are our biggest buckets. That's why I'm showing you adult. I'm saying adult within adult. I know that's very confusing. So adult within adult means the things that Megan and I work on with our team, with the programs and exhibits team. That means the information librarians who are doing finance programming, or genealogy librarian. It means the senior reach into the senior center programming, into senior outreach, going into the community. It means a lot of different things. It does not mean young adult or children. It's those two totally separate categories that you'll hear a lot about when you get the report. And that is, in fact, where there's been a lot of variance over the year, which is another reason that I wanted to show you adult only, because a lot of the variance, when we didn't have the same opportunities to do outreach to schools, really changed the program numbers that you saw over the course of the year. But we were very happy that ours were pretty steady.
So that's what we were happy to share with you, that even though we changed everything about the way that we programmed, that we were able to do a significant portion of the programming we would have done in a normal year, even though everything pivoted. And so that's at the bottom of page 3, those numbers. We had 1,040 programs in 2020 for adults, and that's compared to 1,450 in 2019. So we did not think that that was a drastic reduction in what we were giving our community. That also takes into account that some things ramped up at different speeds. So right off the bat, I had shared with you some of the numbers as far as how we came back from COVID. And we came back with, sorry, I'm losing the numbers here. We came back with 50 something programs in the first month. How did I lose them? I'm so sorry.
58,
Yep,
page 4.
58. That's what the bold was for. Okay. The March 2020, an absolutely unusual month, even hard to look at the numbers because it's a heartbreaking one for us. We had the full month planned, we had the full month of April planned, we had the full month of May planned, everything then became a different thing. So March, we didn't have the opportunity to make up the numbers and programs. We just had to stop, regroup, and kind of create the new normal for us. But to have 58 things out of the gate for our adults in April is something we're really proud of. To increase that to 97 by the following month, very, very proud of that. And that included ramping things up as such as book discussions. Book discussions did not begin right away in April. A little time to regroup and bring that back in. A little time to think about what the tech class model was going to be. So there was thought in all those different types of programs, what the formats looked like, what the known audiences were. Are they people that are regulars? Are they people that are looking for it? Are they people that we think can connect with technology? But yeah, still quite a generous ramp up. And that also meant that for Megan and myself and our department and a lot of the people who program for adults, while a lot of things were happening at your meetings to talk about staff pay and talk about hours and talk about reopening and talk about how we were getting people books, we were just kind of going. We created our new norm and we just kind of were kicking into gear with delivering programs a very different way. You know, picked up a lot of the same things that we do every single month, which is making relationships, vetting presenters, talking, to the community, learning what people want, evaluating our surveys, reviewing the survey information, all of the different things that we do to set goals. We reset those goals. We try to think about the community needs, what changed for the community. So all of those things are happening all the time. A big difference, of course, in the last year is that we didn't have the big programs we would have had the exceptional. So you do have the FanCon numbers in here, which were also called out when we offered FanCon last year. That is something that we have highlighted under the kind of silver linings of the COVID time period, that the FanCon event gave us the opportunity to try new tools. Zoom was the first tool that we picked up, but with FanCon, we decided to start broadcasting things directly to YouTube. It meant that we were starting a YouTube repository of recorded programs and information. Some of those were pre-recorded, some were demonstrations that Megan did herself of some of the crafts that were available. Others were things that we hired a costuming expert or something like that for, that would be very much in the vein of FanCon and would be recorded later. That was an incredible feat to turn FanCon over in less than 100 days, and that is due to Megan and the team that we built to design FanCon. Again, they had an entire FanCon planned by March 2020, which then had to be re-envisioned entirely. Another big kind of silver lining for us was stumbling upon Instagram Live as a programming tool. And again, we kind of go back to those definitions and the IFLAR definitions when we talk about what's a program. So we can put out a lot of different things on Instagram Live. Those are more pure engagement, the things that Mary shares, just statistics about how many people we're reaching, how many likes, how many interactions, but these were fuller program durations. So these were 30-minute plus conversations that we were doing with artists through Meet the Maker series, through the Artists in Residence series. So really more reminiscent of a program interaction. But yeah, to lean into that tool, because we were working with people that had audience there, paid off hugely. it was kind of astounding, in fact, to see. It's a little bit confusing to see the statistics that they're coming in live, but then to see those numbers grow and grow and grow because the tool's doing what it's there to do. People are sharing it, you know, all the algorithms are at work. Somebody likes it, more people see it. It was really impressive to see those numbers go up. That was never even something we expected. We thought that if we did a program like Meet the Maker in person, 30 people coming and meeting the maker is a success. Then when you see a video that 300 and more people have viewed, much more than we ever expected. Another silver lining was that we had this opportunity to bring in people from anywhere. And that's something that our programmers across all the different departments that program for adults are still very excited about. In the genealogy community, that paid off hugely because there are some out-of-state people that we wouldn't have had access to otherwise. The genealogy program numbers have been phenomenal. They've had multiple over 100 attendance. We've had genealogy programs that have had 250 people registered, 150 people attending. So like huge interest and very good attendance. We've seen kind of, you know, a great high point of participation in our programming over the winter months. So December to about March seemed to be a very big sweet spot. I think people were preparing. They knew we're going into this, you know, to the next COVID winter. We came out, everybody had summer. Summer is always a little bit of a lower participation month in programming, harder to get people to be in your programs when there's so much happening outside. In the summer for those reasons, we don't think on getting, you know, the best audiences to our summer programs, but still want for a good variety. But yeah, our October to November, you know, September to November, really OVOV numbers were wonderful. And then it continued into the winter, December through March. And that's where you saw in the board reports over several months, things that we didn't even expect to be that big. When we had over 300 people come out to Secret Chicago, when we had over 300 people come out to Jim Gibbons. Those are things that we would have, again, been happy to see 50 people in Hendrickson room attend and appreciate and enjoy. But to see over 350 people engaged through the Zoom webinar was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Dan and Raymond numbers were very, very consistently high in virtual, and they're really enjoying that platform. They've been happy to see people from out of state and even out of the country showing up at their programs. They kind of have started doing a little shout out at the beginning. If they notice somebody that is there that they know is kind of attending from elsewhere, if they have a little hello. So definitely been really beneficial for them. And that's interesting to me too, because Dan and Raymond do perform shows at multiple different libraries. But I think that they have a very audience here that exceeds the capacity or the attendance that you see at other libraries. We'll just say that we're favorite. Yeah, the other specific presenter that I highlighted as somebody that we were able to reach remotely was Beck Tench. To describe Beck Tench as an educator is kind of an understatement. Beck has done work in museum studies and contemplative practices. So this was really a thoughtful, deep dive discussion, personalized workshop content, something very different than we typically do. Doing it as a devotional 4-part series really kind of looked to grab people to participate through the whole series, but it was also designed so that you could attend just one session and still enjoy it. And to be able to do that, we paid back $1,000 for 4 sessions. Beck has been a keynote at the ILA conference. Beck has done very big keynote engagements. It was a deal to be able to bring back for that piece and not have any airfare or anything. So yeah, so those are just some of the silver linings. And then of course, survey growth, I kind of went out of order because survey growth, I think, builds on all of that. We were reaching people in different ways. We had this new digital contact. That meant that even as we were delivering the programs, we were evolving how we were doing that every month. For the first 2 months that we ran programs online, we didn't really try to find out if guests were there. You know, that's something that we were just kind of trying to get it done. And then it occurred to us a few months in, what if somebody's watching with a couple? What if somebody's watching with their family? There may be more people in the room. Very easy to launch the poll on Zoom and say, how many are watching with you tonight? Myself plus one other, myself plus 2 others. So even that little evolution gave us so much more insight into how many people were really attending. And you know, that paid off when it was the author visit with Laura Prescott as part of One Book, One Village. You don't want to look at just the number logged on. You want to lean into the fact that that audience has traditionally been book groups who attend together, couples who attend together, friends who attend together, who have read it together. So we evolved that and kind of have reflected that in our numbers. Other libraries have picked that up from us. Other libraries who weren't thinking of doing that, when we're in meetings with their libraries and we talk about our poll, they go, wow, that's a good idea. So it's been really nice that we've got a lot of big brains kind of in all of our evolution of programming throughout Zoom. But yeah, getting the surveys into Zoom really helped increase those numbers. So the function was always there. The function is not perfect in Zoom. They do not help us automate it. They do not let us copy it. They do not let us keep a template of it every single time we want to see results to that survey. We're building that survey. So there, you know, there's a little bit of legwork going into creating the surveys on Zoom, but the payoff is worth it because we see a higher return. And then Megan and the staff in P&E have really invested in, you know, duplicating when we need to duplicate. If we're sending the survey or launching the survey on Zoom, so that if you're attending a program and you go to log off, it should pop up on your screen. That's how it should function. But you know, you're hungry and you want to run away. So you close that computer. Don't worry, you'll still get an email from us the next day and it'll say, here's your second chance to take the survey. Those are also great touch points for us with our customers who attend programs, because often there are handouts that we want to give them. Maybe there's a reading list. Maybe there's recommended materials from the presenter. There are a lot of different reasons that we want to stay in touch with our customers and our program attendees of the program. We've also been able to take advantage of the fact that we have larger digital attendance through the partnerships, kind of the last big piece that I mentioned in the report. These have each been conducted a little bit differently as the partnerships that I laid out, whether the tools that we use to broadcast them, whether the way we participated as far as what our goal was in the event. And every single one of these events, we were ready and willing to be all hands on deck. We did not have to be in every single one of these events, because in some cases we had really capable library that just gave us updates, and we just made sure we had the information on our calendar and that we were getting an audience. We selected the program as something that was in line with our customers' interests, and we reaped the benefits with kind of lower staff resources. So that's, you know, an additional benefit of the partnerships. But yeah, the partnerships gave us the opportunity, and particularly the Ibram Kendi, as you see, the 767 attendees. That was the largest attendance we have ever seen outside of fan on a Harry Potter night. We've never seen an attendance that large at a one book visit, because of course those used to be limited by the size of the theater that we were in, 380, the biggest at First View. So that event alone really came down to timing. It was exactly what was on people's minds at the time that we hosted it. We moved really fast to accept that invitation and say, how can we help? We reached out to Natalie Moore. We connected with her to invite her to be the facilitator. We created the surveys for that event to make sure that every partner library got some data about the participation. We made sure we were capturing which library did you hear about it from at registration, and then again in the survey post attendance. So there were a lot of really great lessons learned in there, and they're really carrying over into an evolution of those partnerships, which is now called Illinois Libraries Present. And I don't know how much detail anybody wants to hear about that, but we are really working on formalizing that. Mike, with other directors, decided this was something that was worth investing in, because even when the pandemic is over, people have found a comfort and participating in virtual programs. Libraries have found that we can work together where we wouldn't typically be able to work together and share an author 10 ways, but if it's a virtual space, we can. So that is, again, a humongous silver lining. I also wanted to tell you what the cost savings was. So all the different programs that you have there, we paid $4,435.38 to participate in that suite of programs. The total to deliver that suite of programs was $46,839.
That's done per capita. How did you just split that up among partners?
It varies by the different partnerships. So Your City at Home, which Megan was our lead for, that was 9 events. The agreement of all the participating libraries was that we should offer each of the institutions the same amount, because if we just went to the institutions and said, Ed, can you do a tour? Art Institute, could you do a tour? They might kind of come back with prices all over the place. We wanted to take the collective dollars of the participating libraries and say, here, museums, we know you're in time of need, and we've come together and we're offering you $1,000, and can you do a custom tour? So it really was meant to kind of, they might have otherwise said, oh no, our tours are a max of 200. So we really tried to cater that invitation to, like, we've got a large community. We can pool together funds. So each of those institutions received $1,000. And that's between the 42 participating libraries. It was $250 for that entire series. But yeah, worked a little bit different for each one. Sound Opinions, in fact, I have the 3 highlighted that were the highest attendance of those. That's why they're highlighted. But Sound Opinions, we paid in that case. So you probably saw the $2,500 check that went to Sound Opinions, and we recouped that. Susan was collecting via invoices from each of the. So the only cost per library was $208.33 to do this event. And that was one that we've been fortunate to bring them before, which we started doing as part of One Book, One Village with Geography of Genius. They designed a program around that was about punk, punk music. Why did punk music happen in 1977? What was the origin? What was in the air? They did a great job. They read the book. They loved it. They really catered it to what we were doing with our book. But we brought them then, and we've just had such good reception to that being a unique audience that doesn't come to every program. That's why you saw 33 and 40 series highlighted tonight, because people who like music, they're a different program than authors and craft programs and yoga. So we want to make sure we hit that audience too. And then I know I skipped around, but I will summarize before I take any of your questions or hear any comments, to just say that, there's a lot that's going to happen next. So as a department, I want to make sure everybody has an idea of who we are as a department. We are a department of 5. So we're one of the library's smaller departments. Myself as the full-time manager, Megan is the full-time program supervisor. And her role really is to coordinate among all the adult programmers that we've talked about in this report, but also with the youth programmers when it's FanCon, when it's Harry Potter Book Night. Those are still things we take the lead on to make sure all of the resources are in place between facilities and security and all the departments that we engage when we have those biggest programs. And of course, the exhibits in the department are still being steered, and they've been selected for they were selected before the pandemic, and we are still to deliver those exhibits. So everything that is kind of in our queue coming up exhibit wise just got pushed. This fall, you will see a new to us exhibit that was an opportunity that came from Mayor Hayes, and that's called Portrait of a Soldier. That is coming as part of the remembrance ceremony that's happening on the 20th anniversary of September 11th. That'll be a short-term exhibit that is here this year. That one had not been planned previously, but we were very, very happy to be asked. Salute is the organization in town that is organizing that partnership. It's become a wonderful multi-agency partnership. After that, we will offer Snoopy and the Red Baron, which is the museum. So that should be something really engaging to a wider variety of audiences. Not one of our kids exhibits, not our play exhibit, not our interactive, but it should have that nostalgia and that appreciation.
Absolutely.
So Snoopy and the Red Baron in the fall, and then we will of course move back into showcasing student art in the spring next year. That's something we've had to put a pause on too. We tried to conceive a lot of different ways to offer it this year, and truthfully, the teachers were never going to care enough about an art exhibit when they had to do
Yeah.
pivot their experiences. So 2022 will be the return of that. And then the arcade age, which I believe maybe you heard about at one point in budget or in a different meeting, but arcade age would be 20 arcade games. Certainly was the absolute wrong thing to have scheduled for the summer of 2020 when nobody could touch anything, but by 2022, maybe with hand wipes all over the building, still, we will get the arcade age out to the community.
Somebody's gotta try them out, make sure
Right,
they work.
exactly.
I think Shannon's already offered it. We will continue to work across departments to find survey questions that really help us measure success of all different programs. That is something that we have conversations about almost endlessly. Thank you. Did it sound like I ran out?
Dr. Joe Allen,
But that's a conversation that we had at the very beginning of the pandemic with the adult programmers, because we did a kind of a quick pivot of the survey at that point to just tweak some of the language, so the language felt more respectful and responsive to the fact that we were going through a pandemic. Instead of saying, what types or topics of programs would you like to see? We tried to tune into what programs will meet your current needs. Just little variations in the language or open-ended questions. We do have a lot of open-ended questions in there, and we're going to try and narrow down the opportunities for open-ended feedback, but we gained so much from that open-ended feedback as is. The goal with the surveys is always to make sure the workflow and the resources that go into it do not exceed what we're getting out of it. So that is a balance that we will continue to strike. But we do have some plans and have talked with our IT department, automating in different ways, because we know that this success that we have with Zoom will not continue to be there for every single program. We move back to in-person programming. And then really helping all programmers across the library strike that balance between what makes sense virtually, what makes sense in person, what's going into those decisions. Why are we making the choice to keep it virtual? How will we assess that it's doing well virtual? And we'll play with hybrid. We've already done a lot of looking into what hybrid could be. In some cases, that could be that we still have a presenter present to a virtual platform like Zoom, but we can put it on in the Hendrickson room on the screens and let an audience who want to be together view the program, watch the program. We can have a staff person that facilitates the comments that are coming from the live audience. There's a few different ways that we can capture virtual, hybrid, but we're trying not to randomly make those selections, but really thoughtfully make
What about
those.
streaming?
Streaming, yes, I think you've seen what
Right.
what some of the tools will do for you with the meeting owl. That's kind of where we're looking to other libraries still, and really everybody was still in a research phase up until about a month ago. So there's a lot of sharing between the libraries on what did you buy, how is it looking, what did your test look like. Everybody who has done significant testing of their equipment is finding that the staff resources that are going into producing that hybrid are significant. So one thing that we're wondering ahead of time to get ahead of that is, if that is the case, if it's going to take 2, 3, 4 people to deliver a program in a hybrid manner, it would make as much sense to have the same program 2 days in person. So yeah, again, just trying to always balance the resources and kind of the intended output with those things too. But yeah, we're looking forward to the return of the big things, not just the exhibits that are coming up, but really, getting our next in-person fan con out there next year. Having a lull this year was hard. It was a lot of work to do the pivot to the virtual last year. It was a success, but it was one that we made the decision not to invest in this year, but to invest our resources in continuing to build the future of programming. And I never finished telling you who was in the department. In addition to Megan and I, we have 2 full-time programs and exhibit specialists that are new to the department, but not new to the library. So Emily Muzinski, who was in our youth outreach department, had been she'd worked with the teen department over many years. as an intern going to being a staff person. She brings museum experience. She's phenomenal. She's a new librarian in our department. Neil Parker, who was in our advisory department, he's now part of the programs and exhibits team, and he has been an excellent addition. And Natalie Brotman is our 25-hour-a-week programs and exhibits assistant. She's also a new librarian. We share her with the Glencoe Public Library, who are kind enough to let her be there and be here, so we can both take advantage of her talents. It's actually really exciting to have a new librarian that has another job at a different library in a very different size community and on a different size staff. So she brings a lot of great perspective and is learning a lot and working in 2 libraries, doing so much in one given week. I can't even keep up with her workflow. But yeah, we do have a really, really solid team right now and a really collaborative team. And that's kind of where we always lean. We're trying to lift up the other departments. When they need a resource, we're here to be that resource. During COVID, that sometimes meant co-hosting, that sometimes meant hosting, that sometimes meant training somebody on the tools if they hadn't used them yet. So we're always just responsive to what's happening in the other departments as they bring on new people. We're there to train. And we have to get this kitchen model out too. So that is no small potatoes for our next steps. Some of the ways we'll do that will be relationship building with chefs. We'll be creating chef profiles for those chefs that we engage with, kind of learn what is their specialty, what's their availability, what's their interest in possible frequency, what's their cost. We're going to be learning what it looks like to get the materials for those classes, what it looks like to get the setup done and the cleanup, things that we just haven't done yet. We've only predicted so far, monitoring what that popularity is with the registration, figuring out how to keep meeting that demand, and figuring out how to keep offering some culinary programs here, because among the programs that were our biggest programs over the last year, almost every food program that we offered had 100 people. I made a little sheet because I know that this question has come up at past board meetings, like what is a big program? And as I mentioned, sometimes we didn't intend it to be big, it just got a big audience. But among the big programs, environmental, food, Dan and Raymond, those things pretty consistently hit the over 100 mark. Some of the hands-on things, calligraphy, hit the over 100 mark. So you want to redecorate, offered in January and leaning into the New Year's resolution time, that hit the over 100 mark. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what things during OBOV last year, there were a lot of high interest programs. And I think some of our trustees were there for Catching Spies, Catching Lies with Joe Navarro.
Yeah.
So just general high interest kind of, history niche, really get good audiences. Yeah, so we are tracking what's attracting people always, but seeing it in the numbers versus seeing what they tell us they want topically is interesting. And then we also always have to suss through the things that are proposed in the wider world. We receive a very large volume of program proposals. Very few of them are catered to our community. We do tell people when they submit a proposal through our website that we receive a high volume and that we cannot reply to every single proposal, but we will reach out if it's our community's needs. Some people are more persistent than others and may follow up with us 10, 20, 30 times. Others we may never hear from again if we don't respond. But that is a different piece of our workflow and the assessment of what's out there and what's available. We also really, really have great relationships across libraries. So when another library has something that they really recommend, they tell libraries, we see that, we consider it. The end.
Two questions. One, as we move forward, say for instance, in the culinary programming area with the Maker's Place, are we going to be making some sort of effort to highlight or partner with local establishments? Is my first question. And my second question is, what is the status of Harry Potter? Is there still life on Harry Potter?
Those are two good questions. Let's go out of order. So Harry Potter, we've already re-envisioned Harry Potter book night for next year. There was a discussion amongst programmers as we were planning our 2022 calendar that especially the teen population, who are some of our biggest Harry Potter fans, would be very disappointed to see us highlight Harry Potter as a result of feelings about J.K. Rowling and her personal beliefs. So we don't want to take the chance that some people are going to feel that we're elevating the wrong voice, and we're going to do a Saturday afternoon fantasy kind of mini where we can do some Harry Potter celebration, but Harry Potter will be the sole featured character and book series. That was a good intention. Yeah, and I think that's just kind of a sensitivity to the audience, get ahead of it, don't make it an issue. And then yes, to wanting to have local relationships. I mean, our hope really is that people know the chef's by name. We don't want to have one-off presenters the way we do with some of our other topics, and we really don't with all of our topics. Some of these kitchen programs that I mentioned, or the culinary programs that had over 100, we used Kristen Slick more than once. We used Kristen Slick for more than one audience. She taught families to make nachos. She taught 2 different programs virtually to the adult audience. Other libraries have since latched on to her because she had a good cost and good reviews, and she's all, she's got a huge menu, but she isn't an Arlington Heights resident. And that doesn't mean that she can't be an instructor, but we really want to create local relationships and make sure people have some relationship to the space. So a one-off of somebody who doesn't live or work or have a relationship to Arlington Heights would be the less frequent type of kitchen. But we like our customers who are using the kitchen programming to go in and say, oh, it's Chef John, it's Chef Amy, hi Chef Amy, how are you? We want relationships. And that will help because they will then know what people are looking for, how the curriculum is working, if they need to tweak things, they'll know what our processes are. It'll help us by saving on paperwork, contracts, processing payments to do those things in batches. We'll also be planning over larger periods of times and seasons, because for us to be able to share with the kitchen rental, we're going to need to plan our programming further in advance and say, like, here's a season, September through December, culinary is going to offer this. And we'll get into the seasonal things like our holiday pie baking and the things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where that's going.
I'm glad very excited. The culinary scene here has gotten really hot right now, and I'm hoping that we would reach out to them, because there's some fantastic places and it's really gone crazy.
Yep. Thank you for the question.
So, Jennifer, this is a fantastic report, and congratulations on the success that you and your team have had in the past year.
Thank you.
I mean, as you pointed out, pivoting and creating at the same time, while working through the disappointment of programs that you have planned and we're not able to execute. It is a huge challenge for any environment, and you've managed it extremely well and made us all look very good. So thank you very much for doing that. Now my questions. You mentioned how you were using the survey data for the community surveys to help your market planning, and I get that. Then you also have referenced individual programming surveys in your report as well.
Sure.
How are you using those data?
From
The
both?
individual, well, you already explained the marketing one, that you had the community-wide survey and you're getting the input, and it is helping shape and influence your programming decisions. I understand that. What I want to know is, as you're doing your individual program surveys or getting surveying individuals who are attending programs, how are you using those data?
I mean, really, there's an analysis at the person who planned the program level, where they're measuring against what they planned with the presenter, or if they were the presenter of the information. Did people get what they expected out of the program? Did the information that was meant to be conveyed get across? And then we also look at a department level and analyze, and that's where we really dig into those open-ended comments a lot at the department level, because we do find that through the open-ended comments, people tell us a lot. There are not different fields for like, what would you improve or what did you like? Because with one open-ended comment box, people will tell you either. They will choose which piece of information they thought was worth conveying. we have toyed with and played with kind of, categorizing, kind of trying to do percentages for a program. Of course, the satisfaction rating is based on a pure 5-point Likert scale, which I mentioned in here, so that is very easy to translate to what you see in the report, 4.6 satisfaction this month, 4.8 satisfaction this month. And for us, that's a success always, because that means that people either enjoyed or greatly enjoyed, or they thought something was great or excellent. It's all good. 4 and above is all good. It's hitting the mark. When we see variances, such as a low number or a negative comment, we really pay attention to those. And a lot of times we find that it's in the expectations of the content.
Yeah.
So then we know that our job is to do a better job next time of describing what's happening in that program and what you're getting. And sometimes that means we've planned with a presenter or an expert or an author or whomever and talked through what we think the content is going to be. And it did go a little differently than we talked about. Or our plan of year. So we may see customer comments and say, yeah, that wasn't kind of what we planned to do with that.
So do you anticipate being able to share some of these data with us over time?
Are you looking for open-ended comments or
Well,
like?
actually, Jennifer shares the open end.
Mhm.
You've seen those.
Right, we also do share the Likert scale numbers as well. In the director's report.
The average of them, yes.
And the program satisfaction, that's a combination of those.
So Jennifer, am I correct, if I remember a couple of years ago, we talked, and I presume from just what you said, you're still doing, there's actually a form that you guys use when you meet whoever the deal is assigned to, the programmer. When you meet with them, you actually fill out that form still, where you guys articulate the expectations, scope, and all that stuff. You're still doing that, right? Is that correct?
To the outside presenter or for our staff to design a program?
It's your staff, I thought, did something.
A
and then
program
they
plan is the form that we
Yeah.
used to use.
Right,
Yeah,
is
and
that still around?
we're not using that in the same format right now. We improved a lot of the coordination and communication around programs to be more flexible and kind of constantly up to date through Teams. So 365 was really valuable to us when we were working
Okay.
remotely, certainly. What we have is we have every single adult programmer after their program drop in a review. So that's an expectation when your program is over, and it talks about the number that were registered, the number that attended, what you observed about the audience. When our programmers have a program in webinar, they're still trying to share observations. With webinar mode, I couldn't see the attendees. I saw some of our regular names. There was a lot of activity in chat, which made me think people are looking for jobs right now, things like that. So there's a lot of observation that is shared immediately following the program. And that would include, kind of notes on the presenter and if it went as planned, seemed like it was meeting the objectives of the program.
I particularly like all the partnerships, and I think that's something, that's a silver lining to me. And I attended several of these and we never would have gotten Kendi, right? We never would have gotten. And actually even, I really like e-viewing, I like the local connection. I love Katie Stanford last week. I think that makes Arlington Heights library residents feel proud about their library or their cooking scene or their art scene or their maker scene when there's some local connections. I think, even to say, oh, my kid went to Hersey or, I knew this person in college or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, the partnerships I thought were really great, and I hope that a lot of those can continue because I think it really does benefit everybody.
Yeah, they absolutely will. We've already got 2 more on the calendar for this year and 1 into 2020.
I know Greg Panavani raves about you all. He thinks you guys are
Who's that?
Greg Panavani.
Oh,
He thinks you're the best ever.
it's been great working with Greg on the
He loves
upcoming
you guys.
exhibit. He's
And I know
one of them.
he's in the salute thing too, so,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, and thank you for that comment, absolutely. And that is what we're really aiming to do more of moving forward. It just can't be underestimated, same as the yoga. There's no reason to recreate the wheel. We always scan what's happening in the community. We're always trying not to duplicate. We're not trying to say, that's ours, that's yours. So sometimes it's hurtful if you see like, businesses doing story times and things like that. It happens to us that people take ours. We try not to take other people's, but instead say, hey, you're doing this, we're doing this. Or we work with the garden club if we're going to be offering a virtual gardening workshop because they have the community that wants to come to that. There's no reason for us to separately offer, native wildflowers, and the whole community wants to learn about planting native wildflowers at the same time.
I never knew Forest View was 380 seats. No, I have to ask, I should know, but I don't know how many people attended last year virtually. Was it more than that?
I have it right here. It was more than that. It was 391.
So that's interesting.
Mhm. And that was really interesting. You saw some of the survey data there. So there were a lot of new to OBRV attendees at that one, which isn't the case each year. Sometimes we see more repeat, but Lara definitely brought out new attend, either Lara or the virtual
Yeah,
format of new attendees.
yeah. And I think too, like all the home and garden shows and cooking shows, I mean, that has to drive why people are so interested in this stuff.
Renovation. They'll be in the makerspace then.
Yeah, right.
A very quick question, Mike, on the dashboard where you are reporting program satisfaction as a summary statistic, do you see any particular advantage to us knowing month to month and year over year for that data?
The program satisfaction,
Yeah.
we could report it as a bar graph like we do, or like a line graph like we do with program attendance or something. Do you-
But would there be a relevance to it given the,
Even if you saw fluctuations in that, I don't know that there's something that the board would find interesting in that.
okay,
I think our staff are going to respond to those fluctuations from month to month or program to program basis. And
Right.
programming changes so much in month to month, you may have one that rates really high or really low, that might throw off
Right.
that scale. I don't know that would be beneficial.
okay.
And usually when we see a variance, we dig in and sometimes it's an outlier. I mentioned to Mike, one example is that, with David's technology class survey, he's occasionally shared his data with me at the end of the month and said, there's a 1, but that person didn't attend the class. They went and they took the survey just to say that they were upset that they didn't get into the class. So when there's a variance like that, we don't want it to skew. But we also, with such a large volume of data, we can't always assume we're gonna catch those. So yeah, if we see variances, we dig in and try and figure out what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's always a great job. And, and everything that occurred, with 2020 last year, you and Megan having the pivot as you talked about, a lot of the staff, thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, no, thank you
very
for
much.
supporting us all through that.
Okay.
And for so much time. I didn't mean to go on. I just like to talk about what we
Yeah,
do.
Brian.
Most important, it is very important.
It is. All right, let's move on to item 5 of the Maker Place.
Okay, I have an update here, showing some updated pictures and information as to where we are with the project. As I mentioned, the committee of the whole meeting, we did have some issues with the subfloor, installation of the subfloor. The subfloor was in not as good a shape as we had hoped when it was looked at closely by our flooring contractor. Our flooring contractor had seen the condition of the subfloor up to that point and didn't have an issue with it until they were ready to start laying tile. And so there was a little bit of hold up there while we kind of retooled what we were going to do with that. We ended up coming to the agreement of leveling the floor, just securing the floor and leveling it off. So we did do that. One of the things that did have to change though was the orientation of the tiles. We were looking at a herringbone orientation for the tile in the main makerspace. We had to change that because the floor wasn't perfectly level. The lines in the herringbone would creep a little bit. So it's going to be pretty much a brick pattern. The sewing room ceiling did provide some issues as well. There's the structure, there are beams that are running across that ceiling. And then there's HVAC ducting that had to go under that. So that provided a little bit of an issue when it came to putting the ceiling grid in. So that would take the entire ceiling down below what code would be for height requirements. So we did re-engineer that to break up the ceiling grid into 3 sections called clouds. So that will be broken up into 3 sections between the structural beams, and then the rest of the ceiling down there will be painted black. So this still provides a lot of the acoustical benefit of the grid ceiling downstairs in that sewing room, which would be kind of a louder room, but it did set us back a little bit in re-engineering that. Then moving on to the next page, we have, as I said, made some really good progress this last month in the project. The lighting has been installed on the main floor. The painting is complete on the main floor. The flooring has been installed in the fabrication room and flex space 2. As of when I wrote this, the kitchen flooring installation was in progress. That is now completed, and they're moving on to the main makerspace area. They're going to start tiling that, I believe, this week still. Our parking lot has been finished off and striped. The furniture delivery has started, but actually we've had to push off some of our furniture delivery because of the flooring not being done yet. So that's on schedule for the end of this month, though. And then we had the remaining makerspace staff has been hired. We've had a lot of our own staff over there working as well. So our facilities staff has painted all of the trim, the bookcases. They're painting the entire lower level. So that has really helped us to shave the budget wherever we can. Our IT staff has been over there running all the cabling for the networking, the phones, stuff like that. So that also is a significant savings in the budget. As I mentioned, we hired some additional staff. We have our final 4 makerspace staff. We have Stacy Kraft is our makerspace specialist. Kathy Kilminski is a makerspace advisor. Lisa Hale, another makerspace advisor, and Leanne Davis, who was an existing staff member in our digital services area, is another makerspace advisor. So they all joined us over the last month. They are preparing all of the equipment, testing, doing writing procedures, working on the waivers. They're getting waivers out to anyone who will stand still long enough to sign something. So they're really pushing it at all the desks, at all the meetings, everywhere. So that's in progress. Just to go through some of these pictures, the picture on page 4 at the top, that is the main makerspace area. The pendant lighting was the add-on. You guys remember, it was a $7,500 add-on for the pendant lighting. So that's what that looks like. It looks really nice in the space. As you can see, that room is pretty well complete with the exception of the floor. We do have branding that's going to go in there. The signage is coming fairly soon once the rest of the room is finished off. Same page, that lower picture. This is the carpet contractor prepping the floor. So the subfloor was a plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. When the demo happened, there was vinyl tile that was there, and when it was torn up, some of the glue did pull up some of that plywood. But it is 3/4 inch plywood on top of a 3/4 inch plywood subfloor. So there's plenty of structure there. It's just the surface wasn't level or really that clean. So they poured a leveling compound over the entire surface, sanded it, and then they had a nice surface to work from. One of the challenges with the space is in the main makerspace area, that floor is concrete with butts up to a plywood structure in front toward the front doors. And so where those two meet, there's an expansion joint that runs the entire width of the makerspace. And so I don't know if you guys remember before we tore it all up, the existing tile was cracked all the way across. And our flooring contractor said, no matter what you do, you're going to have movement there with temperature changes and just building shifting and stuff like that. So they're building it in. So there's a seam there in the tile. That's why we're laying it. One of the reasons why we're laying it the way we're laying it. And they're going to put a thin flush threshold there that will help to absorb that movement. Then the next page, page 5, the kitchen walls and floors are all prepared for the installation of the commercial grade flooring in this picture. The paneling and the trim had gone all the way down to the floor, so we had to kind of retool that. Hargrave came back and trimmed that paneling and the trim up 6 inches to bring that roll flooring up to be able to meet the commercial kitchen standards. Then on the next picture down, those window frames are now filled with glass. So you're starting to see the sealed off rooms. No doors yet, but the glass is in place. page 6, there's an aerial view of the parking lot. So you can see the nice, clean, new paved lot with the striped off parking spaces. So with the reconfiguration of the lot, we went from 7 spaces to 12 spaces. So we were able to do that by adding, by reconfiguring it, we added 2 in the upper left corner, 2 in the lower right corner, and then 1 out front. That's a handicap accessible spot. That will be right by the door. And there's a new sidewalk there as well. That leads to the front door. Same page at the bottom there, that is a picture of one of the restrooms. So the tile is in, those rooms are pretty much complete. Since the picture was taken, the pictures have actually been put in. So those are ready. The plumbing is turned, or the water is turned back on. So, so those are coming together very quickly. On page 7, just to kind of show you guys, this is some of the work that our IT staff has been doing, but they've been running the cabling all throughout the building. They have an operational phone over there. The phone is the same phones that are here. And we have a VPN tunnel connecting the 2 buildings. So if you pick up the phone over there, it's just like you're here in our building. So it's just an extension on our existing system. So it's just dialing an extension. So it makes transfer and communication between the 2 buildings very efficient and easy. That next picture, just showing our facility staff painting all the window trim. This is very tedious, all the work that they've been doing painting the trim. I mean, there are so many windows in that place and they are doing an exceptional job. So next time you guys are over there, take notice of the windows and all the hard work that went into those. So, so yeah, they did all those windows, all the windows throughout the whole space, the elevator door and trim, the bookcases that are on in the flex space 2 area, and then the entire lower level will be painted by our staff as well. On page 8, here's a picture of Jim Hawkins, one of our facility staff members. After our discussion with our flooring contractor, one of their concerns was the subfloor was not completely secured down. There were some areas that were pulling up a little bit and it squeaked just like a wood floor would. So our staff, our facility staff went through and screwed all of those loose spots down to the subfloor beneath it. So that is as solid as we can possibly make it. So that leveling compound will be as, laying over a solid surface as much as possible and hopefully avoid any cracking or anything like that in the future. Then the lower picture just showing some of the deliveries coming in. We have started receiving some furniture, some of the other furniture and kitchen equipment we did push off a little bit. We have our kitchen island and counters are in the space, but not in the kitchen yet. We have a lot of this stuff is the tables and equipment, counters and surfaces. So we need to have that on hand. So as soon as we get occupancy to start setting that stuff up, we can put those tables together and start putting equipment on there to be able to pick up things like the laser cutters and the 3D printers and stuff like that. So that we did get there. The kitchen equipment is scheduled to come in, I think, the 29th. So they did finish the kitchen floors. Next step is getting the island in place. That is actually on site and ready to go in. So as soon as I think probably next week they'll be setting that up, and then all that equipment from ITW will be in place on the 29th. And then that last page, page 9. Yeah, the one side of page 9 is just showing the carpeted area in flex space 2. So that is complete and looks really nice in person. The blue and black carpeting is really striking, quite nice. And then that last page on the back is the industrial tools room. That is the luxury vinyl tile installed. So that both of those rooms were leveled off and tile is completed. But I didn't have a picture of the kitchen because that was just completed yesterday. So that is where we're at with Makerspace. You guys have any questions?
Any questions? This one on what do you think for the beginning of September?
Yeah, I think beginning mid-September. The only thing that, Mary and I were looking at dates, just kind of competing with the program on September 11th, some of these other things that are going on late August, early September that we're just kind of working around, Labor Day, stuff like that. So we're feeling pretty good about it. This last couple of weeks, there's been a ton of progress over there. We feel like the things that were kind of holding us up are in motion. And, we're rocking and rolling. Our electrician is out there. Today, he saw cut the basement floor to get the final floor outlets in down there. So that was another big one that we were waiting on. After he's done, the ceiling grid will go in. That will be pretty much finished up. Then we'll have inspection for the ceilings. Once we get that, we can close up the ceilings and finish off the paint work and everything else downstairs. So I feel like we're doing pretty good. So we're hoping to finalize some dates probably tomorrow morning. I think we're meeting. We'll get something on your calendars as soon as we have it.
Budget.
Yeah, within budget, so.
Oh, wow, work.
It
My
has been a
goodness.
huge project, and we've added so much to it. Adding that sewing room was a huge addition to, the budget luckily was covered by our foundation. The timeline, there were a lot of complications with that, with the ceiling and stuff that we weren't anticipating. So that added a little bit to it, a few of the other things, but we really want this to be a place to open up.
Very good. All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to action item 6. It's the intergovernmental agreement for library services for St. Pete's and St. Viator that we talked about in the committee of the whole last week.
I move that the Board of Library Trustees approves entering into a governmental agreement with St. Peter's Lutheran Church and St. Viator's High School for the purpose of providing library cards to educators who work at the schools.
I second
I
the
was gonna ask for
motion.
that motion anyway.
Now you have to ask for discussion.
Yeah, any discussion,
No,
comments,
sorry.
or anything?
Discussion after the motion.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
So just to recap, this is what we discussed at the committee of the whole on July 12th. This will expand our piloted program of intergovernmental agreements with 2 parochial schools to start, St. Peter Lutheran and St. Viator. If this goes well, we may expand this to other schools.
Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passed. Thank you very much. Let's move on to action item 7, extension of the temporary policy due to COVID-19.
I move that the Board of Library Trustees recognizes, extends the temporary COVID-19 policy, amending existing policies effective through September 21st, 2021.
That we talked about last one. So I need to let me get the last part of my sentence out there. Any comments or discussions on that?
And I just want to point out, this was discussed at the committee of the whole meeting, I'm sorry. And the only remaining temporary amendment at this point are the hours of service in the meeting room, public usage, only because of we are still operating under temporary hours, and our public meetings rooms will be reopened September 1st. So extending this through September will cover it.
Very much. Well, it's your question. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, that motion passed. All right, let's move on to action item 8, adoption of 7.016 alcohol policy.
I move that the Board of Library Trustees adopts policy 7.016 for alcohol.
I second as discussed at the committee of the whole. You can say that tonight.
Hey, any comments or questions? I actually have one comment. One thing I asked during last time, how they have to provide this, and but really by saying by when, I asked by when, and it was at the, more by the, I think we decided by the time of the event it was going to be there, correct?
Yes.
Can we just add that statement in there, just to, any questions? Where?
Yeah, it's under compliance.
Okay.
Last page, okay.
Oh, prior to the, okay.
There you go.
I read it 3 times right now until I got it. Okay, never mind. Do you have a motion now?
I think maybe.
Yeah, are we stuck with that one? Okay, any more comments?
I just want to point out that this was written in collaboration with the library's attorney, and the attorney has reviewed.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, nay. That motion passes. Where are we here, folks? Action item 9, adoption of the human resource policy for remote work.
As discussed at the committee of the whole, I move that the Board of Library Trustees adopts the human resources policy, remote work.
Second?
I second.
Second. More comments or questions on this?
I do again.
I don't have anything on that too. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those nay, and that one passes. No other new business? Go on to the other, just really quick. I brought up the idea of the trustee project based on the maker picture. We're looking at that weekend of August 21st to 22nd. To do something and much got a grand idea, so.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in helping us plan some plans over at the Makerspace on that weekend, it'll probably be on Saturday, but I'm not sure, I don't know what would work better for you guys. But I'll have, Janet's gonna send out invitation, we'll see which day can get the most attendees, and then we'll schedule.
Okay, thank you. And I also brought up last week about moving possibly moving up our meeting times.
Right.
We're still looking at the our hours policy, correct? So, and that's supposed by the end of the year, right? We're gonna make that decision.
Yeah, probably brought in August, actually,
Actually gonna bring it
for
up.
the service hours, for the operating hours.
Operating hours. I'm thinking, if all the trustees agree with this, let's really put that off and wait until we get all that taken care of. Because that will tell us a lot more about what the hours here. Does anybody have any problems with that? Anybody else? Okay. Any other? Okay, do we have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I'll move that we go into closed session in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2 C21 for the purpose of reviewing closed session minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and that one, we are going into closed session. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, you guys. Bye. Okay.
Good. We are now back in open session for the Board of Library Trustees for the Untitled Memorial Library for Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. A quick roll call, say your name, who's here, please.
John Sublett,
Amy Samari, Sarah Gallo.
Debbie Smart?
Mike Driscoll.
Greg Zig.
you just looking past now.
Thank you very much. Okay, we need a motion for the releasing of the closed session minutes for and destroying of the tapes for November 19th, 2019, December 17th, 2019, January 6th, 2020, and January 21st, 2020.
I so move.
I'll second.
Second that, okay. Okay, any comments, anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And that one passes. Okay, thank you very much. We now need a motion to approve the closed session minutes.
I so move.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and that passes. Thank you very much. So now we just need a motion for adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
Any discussion, any comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and we are done for the night.
All right,
Great, well done.
those have to go in there.
Oh,